Right, being 5:15, they call the Finance and Personnel Committee meeting to order.
The flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For a motion to adopt the agenda
Second.
by Mike, second by Tim. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. I review the fire prevention ordinance code. Fire Chief Mark Gofer.
Yeah, we want to, right now, currently, we're doing them twice a year. The Department of Safety and Professional Services has advised that we can go down to one time a year as long as we have an ordinance. I know Wapaka has had that ordinance for several years now. So we're strapped for help on this, and it's going to take a lot of pressure off. Plus, we'll be able to go back to, we were doing them once a year for many, many years until we had our audit about 4 years ago. And they told us, well, we need to start doing them twice a year. At that point, we were kind of overwhelmed with what had to be done. So some of the pre-plans and things couldn't be completed as nicely as we'd like to have it done. So it's kind of a big issue. And we don't lose anything as far as 2% dues if we go this route and get an ordinance that we only need to do them once.
Do you want to comment that this was taken in front of the police and fire?
Yes, this was all approved in front of the Police and Fire Commission also.
It would be required as an ordinance change, right, to change it. That's why it's got coming from the council.
Right.
And also a key point is, like Mark mentioned, that it is not going to affect our 2% dues. 2 inspections to one.
Make a motion to change the ordinance to annually.
Second.
Made by Tim, seconded by Bob. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. IT contract discussion. Chrissy?
Mark. Yeah. Thanks, Mark. Didn't mean to kick you out.
Hello, everyone. As of August of 2024, our current contract with PCN South Solutions is going to expire. We have a 2-year contract that we have been renewing since 2014. I guess I need to know if the council or the finance committee would like to go ahead and renew another contract with them for another 2-year term, or to go out for an RFP. If we go out for an RFP, the reason why I'm here today is if we go out for an RFP, I would need to put more money into the budget so that we have that for next year. We don't, when we go out for that RFP, if they come in at a higher price, then we're not scrambling to try to find more money to put in the budget. Just a little back information that I got on that is in 2014, we did go out for an RFP. We had 3 replies. And then our previous provider sold blocks of hours that we paid in quarters. And their amount was $37,500 for a year. So we split that off into quarters. We were charged whether or not they made those hours for that quarter. If they went over in the hours the quarter, we had to pay extra for that amount. Since that time with PCN South Solutions, we have not hit that amount. I have actually reduced the money that is in that account. We went down to $31,000 instead of the $37,000. We have not even hit the $31,000. I've done a 1-year calculation from July of 2022 to June of 23. And we did about $20,000 in that account. So we have about $10,700 that would have been extra for the year. I don't want to reduce it more because if there's something that happens, server goes down, something of that nature, we need that money to pay for those bills. So that's why we have that extra cushion. But if we do an RFP, we would probably need to put more money in there. Mr. Gaudy, I talked to him a little bit, and he said that if we decide to renew his contract for another 2 years, he's going to leave his fees the way they are. We do get a 15% discount on normal and remote support. So I did talk by email with Chief Schlueter, and he believes that he's been doing a good job keeping them up and running, and he has no issues with them. And so I'm just curious and wanting to know which direction to go with, either renewing a contract in middle of next year with PC and Solutions, or to go ahead and start an RFP next year.
I would like to stay with him because he's local, and if we have an issue, we can go over and talk to him. Or we got with somebody from Shawano or something, who knows when we're gonna be seeing anybody.
And with him being local in the police department, we have had him in the middle of the night go over there and help them out when they need it. So
Are there any other local IT?
I haven't seen really any in New London. I have had a couple in the Appleton area contact me, but they're doing more of the blocked hours again. In that case, they may send somebody over if we need it, or maybe do it a day a week again. But that's not going to be everybody. We may be lucky and have somebody that would come when we need it more.
The only reason I was asking is I would hate to not put out an RFP if there was someone else local and just not give them the opportunity at all.
And I'm comfortable going with either way you guys want to go with it.
So you're looking for a motion to stay with Cellcom? Is that PC Cell, I should say? Yeah.
I think Mr. Schlueter had a question, comment.
I just want to say too, one thing that's a big advantage to us is that Keith knows all of our systems, knows our computers, knows the stuff that we use for the state, the FBI, everybody, which if you bring in someone new, it is going to be a huge learning factor, especially when we talk about our security and stuff that we have to put on our systems. I mean, Keith does know that. I think it's gonna be a far stretch to think someone might be able to just walk in and relearn that. I mean, every couple of years when we get audited by the time system, he has to redraw mapping of our connections with Wapaka and Outagamie counties and their firewalls and our firewalls and all that security. So just, take that into consideration too, that if you look outside, big learning curve with that.
I'll echo that too, just the fact that, if you do change this over, it would be a huge change. There hasn't been any problems with that. Keith's been very responsive.
Yes.
This is one of those things that's very hard just to jump around if needed. So my 2 cents with that as well.
Sounds like he's a pretty valuable asset. Is there any way we could lock him in for a longer contract?
I have kind of talked with him about that. I think there might be a way to lock him in for, 3-4 year contract. He's just not sure if he could keep how long he can keep his dollar amounts that way.
Understand? I'll make a motion to stay with PC and Cell for our
Second.
IT contract.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Tim. Seconded by Bob. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Missy. Resolution financing 1 million for downtown water main improvements.
Hello, everyone. This is the last component for our short-term borrowing for downtown and our 2023 water main projects. This financing is temporary until we receive our safe drinking water loan.
So this is the gap between there. This is the last resolution that I need approved so we can acquire the financing.
I guess I'll make a motion to accept the resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of 1 million sewage, water and electric system revenue bond.
So move.
Motion been made by Tim, seconded by Mike. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. On the finance director's monthly reports, Judy?
Okay, so as far as financial information and the presentation of financial information to the committee, we are halfway through the year. So 6 months at 50%. When I was paging through here, getting ready for the meeting, I'm looking at where we're currently at. I usually try to go to this one because it's a little more detailed. Nothing stuck out to me that makes me think that we're going to be over budget. One of the things we talked about in here is our equipment maintenance, and you can see that settling down a little bit. It was at 60% actually, 60-ish% actually last month. So I'm not as concerned about that. I really think possibly we're gonna see that go over, and we'll have to deal with that overage when we budget for 2024, and really be forward thinking about what things are costing us today. As we know, a lot of why this is going over is inflationary. Everything is costing more money. I don't think that we've been doing a good job replacing our equipment, so I really don't believe that it's that our equipment is that old, that it's just costing us more to buy supplies that go into these vehicles when we're fixing them. That's just a matter of fact. We've been at $130,000 for a very, very long time. And it's time for us to take a look at upping that going into the 24 budget. So that will be the plan moving forward when that budget is presented, to take a look at that. And I'll have everyone's input into that as we take a look at changing that number. I'll meet with the department heads and chat and just see what makes most sense about moving that number forward and what that looks like. But otherwise, why social services is high is because there's two largest things in there. It's a small amount. Our fireworks are over for the year. That takes the lion's share of that dollars, although Festival Foods kicks in most of the money on the revenue side. And then we have a weights and measures contract. So they're the ones who go out and make sure that we're charging, like at gas stations, according to gallons, this much money, or you weigh your bananas and they're charging what it says they're supposed to be charged for the weight. So that's all paid for the year. Cable 3 is the infrastructure you're seeing in front of you today that is pushing that over, but we also have designated funds for that. So that's why that's there. Insurance, we paid the lion's share of that in January. So that's always high. But now that we're halfway through the year, we'll start seeing everything kind of level out over the next couple months. And most of those percentages will look more normal as compared to how many months we've been through. Or have lapsed, I should say. Any questions on any of those?
I have a question on I know we're having a capital projects meeting right after this, but for capital projects, I can't remember. Isn't there some project on delay? I don't know, was there a roofing of library, or is there a reason that that's 25%? Do we wait typically towards?
We're still working on a lot of our capital projects to get done in the summertime. So you'll see that come into more normal numbers. Usually October or November, once we see those contracts finish. But the library project is actually bonding dollars. So that's a separate from these.
No, I mean the existing one we've been waiting for 4 years for shingles or something like that.
Yep, so those are
Oh,
bonding
okay.
dollars. That will be, they're working on that now, actually, to get those dollars spent before November also, to get those on this year.
Okay.
So,
Because I just I guess I don't understand how the billing and stuff works, but every year I seem to look at that and I go, wouldn't you want to get them done as soon as you possibly can before the inflation goes up even higher on them? I just didn't know if we were sitting and waiting to do something or if we just.
And well, and what's happening also besides that, so if you see equipment replacement, that's more of our vehicles. So you can see that we have gotten a lot of our vehicles replaced that we had scheduled for this year. But when you look at capital projects, those are done when the sun's shining. So we do a majority of those probably between, you know, when the frost comes out of the ground until September, October. So you'll see that start jumping up here pretty soon.
And some of those have already, like the Berger River Walk, the riprap, that's been done. We're just waiting for the billing
Right.
to go through the process, so.
A lot of those contracts are already signed too, so we don't worry too much about, because we go out to bid and we've already decided what they're gonna look like, so we're not too concerned about. hurry up and get them done. Well, we want them done, but we're not worried about the inflationary factor going into the end of the year. I understand your concern and what you're talking about, but yeah. Any other questions on the expenditure side? All right, and we'll move on to revenues. And again, when I took a look at this, you can see that our interest is doing well, but that has to do with inflationary factors. But I am thinking at this point, I might collect twice of what I actually budgeted. So we could be up in, you know, around $100,000 higher in our interest line item than we anticipated. So we will decide and look at that at the end of the year when we close out our budget and see how all the other revenues come in. At this point, I don't anticipate any of those. I expect full revenue collection at this point. So we'll just take a look at that when we close out the 2020 budget and make our decision on where we will go with those dollars. One of the things that I think about is as we're going to be going back out to bond for the Oshkosh Street project in 2025. One of the things that they talked about when we got our rating from Moody's was our fund balance, our unassigned fund balance. So I'll definitely be considering that when we go into closing out 23 and looking at that unassigned fund balance and making sure that it is very nice and healthy. But just taking that into consideration when we close out our budget year. All right, then we have assigned and unassigned fund balance. And none of these dollars have changed. This is where those cable funds will come from eventually when we close out the year. So we'll bring that more into normal ranges. In February is when I usually present the end of the year budget and then do these adjustments. Does anyone have any question on any of the assigned or unassigned fund balances that are listed on here? If not, we will move into wheel tax and we have caught up. So this is through May. Wheel tax, we received 2 of the payments last month. So we're actually at $58,004. And at this point, we haven't actually decided where those funds are going to be spent. But as we know, we have some very large projects going on right now. So to have these dollars kind of sitting in our back pocket and being able to utilize them if necessary on something that's happening right now is a really positive place for us to be in today. Not saying that if we didn't pull from here, we don't have lots of other things that we're looking at for that money. But you can see we list downtown projects here. Very fluid right now, what's happening in our downtown, as we all know. And then I updated, I presented this one in a while. So I'll make this a little bigger. This is the bonding that we just approved. So we approved this dollar amount right here, 3.375. And these are all the projects that are going on today. So I thought this would be a nice representation if you have questions about what's going on in our downtown. So what exactly is the city up to this year, next year, the year after? This is all mapped out into 2027. We do have 1 year, 2026, that is an off year for road construction, but I'm sure that there will be something eventually filled in here to be looked at. I would look at the Department of Public Works area to look at that year and possibly have something, maybe not quite at the magnitude that we're looking at with these projects. Put something that we can put in 2026. Also might be a time just for everyone to take a breath, to be honest with you. This is a lot on our employees within our office. As you know, we're small office and there's a lot going on today. So maybe just might be a time for us to take a step back and breathe before we go back into our downtown and finish the other side, Pearl Street. So, and then you can see, here's the current bonding and the other dollars that are flowing into the project. So we have ARPA funding flowing into these projects, some wastewater treatment plant money, the 80/20 grant for downtown, and that should actually be down one next to this North Water Street. So that's the 80/20 grant. And again, all of the things that you can share that are being done in our downtown today and the next few years. And that is it for that. And then just so you know, for the bonding, we started working with April today on getting together each of these projects that we're working on and starting to track what those dollars look like. Keeping good tracking measures, not only for arbitration, I have to do that to make sure we're not making more money than we're paying out, but also just to make sure that we're keeping on top of how much money we're paying out and what those projects dollars are looking like. So I should be able to, at least in the next couple of months, present that to you so you can see where each of these projects are at today. I certainly like to take a look at that after we get out of a project. So once the snow flies, I know nobody wants to hear that, but that's always a good time to get together with department heads and chat and just say, okay, where are we at today? And, you know, because there's going to be a lot of dollars flowing out of this, out into these projects in this year. Where are we at? And what does it look like going into next year? So we make sure that we're financially ready for that. Any questions on any of that? All right, then I will go into my budget memo, or into what I'm doing, I guess, for the month of July. I did complete the budget memo. Chad took a look at the mayor, and we sent some just some direction on where the department heads could start on the 2024 budget process. You will be presented those budgets at committee level in September. So look forward to seeing what that's going to look like. There's so much fluid within that Act 12 that the state has passed that I'm just not sure where those dollars are to this day. We have an estimate of shared revenue, but there's a lot more in that act. And I'm waiting for those numbers to be pushed to us by the state. I don't want to estimate what anything's going to look like or say what that's going to look like until we know what those numbers are going to look like. I'm anticipating that those come in within the next couple of months here. And then we can take a look at it and talk about that as I get those numbers. I'll bring them before finance. But at this point, like I said, September and October will be big months for those numbers to come into our office. So we know what 24 budget's going to look like. Let's see. We met with our health insurance consultant. That will be presented to you at the September meeting. If everything goes right, we are meeting with Jamie, who is our health insurance consultant, and taking a look at those numbers. We are currently in our payroll department, providing her with a census so that we can go out to bid on our health insurance just to do our due diligence. We are looking at our current health insurance carrier, seeing what kind of numbers we can get from them. So again, you can look forward to seeing that hopefully presented at our next finance committee meeting. I had to complete the first 20-ish pages of our 2022 audit and get that back to our audit firm. They were unable to complete our audit. I was hoping to present that, they would present that tonight, but just like everybody else, they had an employee who was an integral part of our audit leave the firm. And so Chad and I talked about it. He could have done a preliminary audit to you, and we didn't want to do that. We wanted to make sure that everything was completed and, T's crossed, I's dotted, and make sure that we didn't have to come back and talk about it a second time. So we gave him an extra month, and that will be presented at the September finance meeting also. Well, I have to complete a video service report to the state every year. I finished that. Insurance information. The hail damage for our insurance company, that has, I think there's one invoice left for that. So hopefully we can put that to sleep. We did have our new human resource payroll coordinator start. So many of us are in training mode, walking Stephanie through the process. So if any of you are interested in meeting her, please take the time to come down and say hi to her. I attended the CIVMIC, which is our insurance company, Cities and Villages Mutual Insurance Company meeting, and participated in roundtable discussions as a board member there. And then I received our estimates on insurance renewals. I don't think I need to be going home now. Renewals of 2024. So they're looking good at this point. Better than I anticipated. I continue to monitor again at 12, waiting for those revenue sources to see exactly where those are going to come in, so that we can move forward in our budget process. I also billed the utilities for their portion of our insurance, and that was sent out. I think that's all I got.
Thank you, Judy.
You're welcome.
Is there any other questions?
I have something I want to talk about. So last year, we did a wage study for the city and decided to, wages are going up all over the place. So I just feel like we might have missed some people. I was wondering if we could get a wage study for poll workers. If anybody's been to the polls, they work very long hours, and I just want to make sure that they're compensated. Also, the mayor and the council. I'd like to see what other communities are doing. So I'd like to, now we're going into budget for next year. I'd like to see, some kind of wage scale for those.
No problem. We will get those done. And
Ginger's working on seasonal staff as well, just because I think we focused on full-time last year, and we can continue focusing on different areas.
I think right now, because of the shared revenue and stuff like that, it's a good conversation to have.
Yep.
Especially, some of the council has been unopposed, and there's people just not really interested in doing it. And maybe that would, spark more people interested to take on those roles. So
we will certainly get the information put together, and I would hope to present that actually at the September meeting. So we will get on that.
thank you.
Any other questions? For a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Made by Tim, second by John. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? They're adjourned.
You want to have a couple minutes, or you want to go right into capital projects?
Good.
I'd like to call the August 2nd Capital Project and Equipment Committee to order. Judy, has a roll call been taken?
It has.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Next is adopt agenda. Can I get a motion to amend the amended agenda to remove item 5?
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Dorsey, second Mr. Herder. To amend the amended agenda to remove item 5. Any other questions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next is consider approval additional funding out of the capital budgets to purchase fire truck. Mr. Wilfer?
So we discussed this with the Police and Fire Commission, and our choice for this purchase would be the Marion vehicle. If you did look at the packet, the price breakdown, Don did all the research on this. And he knows a lot more about it as far as what the components are. But we are going with the most expensive quote. Number one, because they're local. The Pierce truck is a local company, but the truck is actually built in Florida. The Midwest is built in Minnesota. I don't know if you guys got a chance to look at the packet, but we are having some major issues with that truck as far as rusting. I got a quote from Emergency Vehicle Services LLC to fix that truck right now, almost $39,000. $25,000 of that is labor, 250 hours he figures to get that truck where it needs to be. So we're recommending that the Marion, because it is local and because of the issues we've had. We got 3 other Marion vehicles in our fleet. And
Can you let me just step back a little bit? and
Sure.
talk a bit? So I just want to step back a little bit before he goes into talking about the actual fire trucks. So we actually have approved within the bonding, and I provided you the information within the packet. I just want to step back and just in case you are, when you're reading it, you're like, what is all this stuff and what is it for? So, and why are they presenting back to the committee? So we approved $350,000 within our bonding for a fire truck to be purchased. It's going to take a while, but in 2023, let's just say. So then Mark came to me and said, and Chad, and said, the vehicle that we would like to purchase, what would happen if we went to committee and the vehicle that we want to purchase costs more than what we have already decided that you're going to spend for the fire truck? I said, well, you have to go to your committee and commission, and you guys decide what you want to do. If you choose to pick a fire truck that's going to cost more than what the council has already decided to spend on it, then we would have to call a capital projects meeting, and you would have to discuss what you talked about and what happened at that meeting, and then ask for the additional funding. Well, assuming there's enough dollars within the capital budget still remaining, which there is. But then your process would be to come to the capital projects meeting and talk to them and talk about what you've been through, and then ask for the additional funding. I just wanted to bring you up to where we are today in the process. If that makes sense.
okay, as I was saying, we have 3 Marion products in our fleet now. We went underneath there and we looked, and our oldest truck is what, 86, I believe. And there's nowhere near the amount of rust on it. The problem with the Midwest truck is they didn't undercoat anything, and they use steel instead of aluminum. There's just a whole bunch of different things that are different. So we purchased the truck. The Midwest truck we have now is 12 years old. It's got 10,000 miles on it. And we're looking at, almost $39,000 to repair that truck. So that is the issue that we really have on why we don't want to purchase the least expensive truck.
So I have a question regarding the specs of this other truck. So the ones that you have, were built better. The new truck specs, are they going to have the same materials used in building that truck?
So then we're talking about a tank truck, okay? So
Okay.
that tender from Marion is gonna have all aluminum frame, undercoated, all the stuff that we need to have. You know, that the tanker that we have now from Midwest, you know, it's been around for 12 years. It's not outside every day in the slop in the wintertime. It's, you know, occasionally, and we've still got some issues. We also, some of the corrosion is due to a fitting that goes into the tank where we fill the truck. And that's been addressed once and it's leaking again. So there's some other issues with that too, but a lot of that rust is just from road salt, things like that, and not proper undercoating or preparing the metal before they actually painted it. So
Mark, we have those pictures if you want to review.
yeah, so Don's better at it. He took the pictures, so.
That picture right there that you're looking at is near the rear of the truck. It's part of the frame of the back of the truck, and you could see where the rust is eating right through the metal there. That whole piece is going to have to be cut out and replaced when they repair the truck. The two tanks there, those are air tanks on the rear of the truck, and they function to operate the air brakes on the truck. But the rust is eating through the metal in the air tanks, where the air tanks are going to need to be replaced. That pipe is where it originally was leaking. It was repaired once and it's leaking again now. The only reason I looked under the bottom of the truck was during this process where we're searching for another fire truck. The Pierce salesman said, well, make sure you check on what Midwest is giving you for tank supports under the truck. Make sure they're all rust proofed appropriately. So I thought, well, we got a Midwest truck. I'm just gonna grab a creeper and I'm gonna crawl under the truck and just see how the Midwest truck that we got is doing. And this is what I found. I couldn't believe my eyes. It looks good on the outside. It drives good, but you get underneath and there's a lot of problems there. Would that truck last another 20 years? Not in that condition. It's gonna need to be repaired. They would have,
Yeah, it's
some things last a 10-year warranty, but not this far out.
so the paint is almost generally, any fire truck has got a 10-year on the paint, but it's like at the most 2 years on anything else. So, and sometimes not even that, so.
Like that picture there, that's got nothing to do with the leak in the back of the truck. That's the frame under the poly tank that's on the truck that holds the water. You can see all the rust starting already. That too, it's got nothing to do with the leak. Same there. That's towards the front of the truck where it's starting to rust pretty good already. Those pictures are all towards the front of the truck. There again, same thing. Same thing there. And that's towards the back, towards the filler tube again. So there was a considerable price difference between Midwest. Midwest is the cheaper of the three bids, $309,379.40. The Marion truck is $371,365. But we would also be responsible for the increase in the chassis price. they don't know exactly what the 2025 Freightliner chassis is going to cost. So whatever that is, we'll have to pay the increase. Pierce was almost close to being an identical bid to Marion. There, I don't know, within 1,000, 1,200, something like that. So Pierce is very, very close competitor with Marion. I looked through the Marion body specs on the truck, and they really go out of their way to make sure the truck stays rust free. They take any screws out that might have a chance of rusting, and they coat them with special coating. They put certain screws in that don't rust. So they really go out of their way. And I can say I took a creeper and I rolled under our 30-year-old Marion pumper, and there's hardly any rust to speak of on it. So I guess we're looking for something that's gonna stick around with us for 30 years probably.
The other thing, there was a few other items that we liked. There's the storage compartments are bigger on the Marion compared to either of the other trucks. Just a few little items like that. Some of the, I believe the side rail where you step into the truck is a lot heavier duty. It's a custom made instead of just what comes from Freightliner. All sorts of little things like that that make that truck, cost a little bit more, obviously.
Anybody else got any questions for?
So the truck you're replacing, what year is that?
We're replacing an old GMC truck that was bought and used from Fredonia. I forget, is that 87 or something like that? It's up there. So we're gonna be keeping our Midwest, but I don't know if you ever saw the one with all the cartoon things on the side. It's yellow. It's the only yellow truck we have anymore. And that, like I said, purchased used from Fredonia back 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago.
And the Midwest is the one that has the rust issue.
Yes.
So are you going to be fixing that as well, the rust issues?
Well, we're almost gonna have to the tune of almost $39,000. So the tank's gotta actually come right off the truck, and then they're gonna just have to get in there and just start cutting things apart and putting new metal in. And then, like I said, ensure that everything is primed, painted, and undercoated, which it wasn't before. It looked like it was just painted and not primed even. So that was what we heard from the person who looked at it to try to get it fixed.
Sometimes cheaper ain't always better.
So Mark and Don came up to me and when they started looking at this, and I wanted to make sure that they're talking apples to apples. And originally when they brought the numbers, I mean, the Midwest is like, well, yeah, we got to definitely, go on that. But, looking at the concerns, I mean, those pictures that they took with the rust pictures, that speaks a million words right there. But then, Mark, our anticipated life for the vehicles that we have right now, we try to keep them for how many years?
Well, the rotation is somewhere around 40 years. I can't say we could stick to that anymore. We used to always keep them 40 years, but does it make sense to keep them for 40 years? So it's at least 30 and probably 35 anyhow. So I mean, yeah, we already have one, the first Marion that we ever purchased, the 954, that is in excess of 30 years old. And I can honestly say the guys aren't afraid to take that truck. In fact, that's our Mavis call truck. So that's our first call truck out of our area, out of our jurisdiction, if we have to go help some other fire department. So we're not afraid to take that anywhere. It's been a good truck. Very few problems with any of our Marion vehicles. That's kind of the track record speaks for itself. We're very happy with the 3 Marion vehicles that we have. So.
And then my follow-up question to you before into that right now, do we feel like we're going to get 30 to 40 years out of our current Midwest truck that we have?
I don't think so. It's going to be difficult to say that. I mean, this is basically an estimate. He doesn't really know exactly what's going to happen until he starts starting cutting things apart. So, you know, it's hard to say. I would say if we can get it fixed the way it should be, yeah, it should last. But if we can't get it fixed, or if something is inaccessible, no, it's not gonna last that long.
So to Dave's point, sometimes you don't get what you pay for.
We're adding another 40,000 on the Midwest truck in 10 years.
And just the depreciation.
Just do it again.
Appreciate it 34 years.
Right.
It's cheaper than depreciating that over 20 years. If we can't get that lifetime out of the truck. So
Just the other thing I'm just gonna throw out there is, you know, times, when we bought the Midwest truck a few, 12 years ago, you know, times were a lot better. There was some flack gotten by the chief for buying something out of state at that point. Now, you know, things aren't as quite as good, and, you know, we're thinking it's a local company. We probably got people in New London that work for Marion or work for Pierce, even though Pierce may not be the winner of this bid. But, you know, keep the money local, keep the money in the people from around here instead of maybe sending it off to Florida or Minnesota. Just because the times are tougher and the people can use the money and the work, these companies can use the work also, so.
So you've been approved 350,000. What are you looking at in additional?
So
Put
the
these
balance of
things out.
that plus whatever and we don't know what the chassis difference is going to be. It might be minimal. We don't know I think they bid a 23 chassis, but we're gonna have to get a 24 because of what's the lead time? He said, just to get the truck was 3 or 4 months, I think, once we get the contract signed. So it's gonna be a 2024 vehicle. 2025, I'm sorry.
Yeah, because it's 22 to 24 months.
I guess the question I'm asking is, you're asking for us to approve additional funding.
Absolutely.
And right now we know that there's about 72 or about $22,000 in addition to approve.
Mhm.
And then there's the chassis. What's the dollar amount on that?
That we don't know. That's the problem.
Rough, I guess rough estimate. And Judy, do we have it in the budget?
So we currently, if you go, Chad, please, and thank you, to our current capital list. On the top of there, you can see we have $36,689 left in our capital budget for 2023.
So, yeah, I guess.
21,000, you're right, you're very close, 22,000, yeah.
Mhm.
But then we're at, 14,000.
But we're gonna be back here again. because the
Correct.
Chassis is gonna
We're
cost
gonna
more,
be-
but it is what it is.
We're gonna, right, and we have another capital budget coming up.
Right. We
So
just
the
know as
question
Cap
becomes-
Five that we have to have that on the next one.
The question
Correct.
becomes, when do you find out about the chassis? I mean, once you sign the contract, they know.
So once the contract's signed, they'll lock it in. Is that what I'm understanding?
They lock in the price except for the chassis.
Okay, because
Whenever
when they purchased the chassis, right?
Yep.
Must have
Whenever
given you
they,
some kind of,
they have access to getting a chassis, that's when we'll find out what the price is gonna be.
they must have given you some kind of number, what they're anticipating.
What did,
Some of the other ones, they put in $15,000 to cover the chassis. Like Midwest put in 15,000 and Pierce did too, but the guy told me that that 15,000 would cover the new chassis. Pierce told me, but he actually looked in the writing in their spec and it said that we're responsible for that, but most of them are saying 15,000 would cover the price increase of the new chassis. So I assume it's probably gonna be no more than 15,000, probably less than 15,000.
One of the challenges is within this current market, you don't even know the prices of these things when you order them. I mean, Jay Bissett was talking about the same thing, utilities. I don't know if he's talked about that in utility meetings. He's ordering trucks and you don't get the price until you get it. So, I mean, that's unfortunately part of the world we live in right now.
and the lead time, like almost 2 years to get the truck. I mean,
So then the question becomes, do you want to just approve the 21,318 it takes to get them to signing a contract, and then come back to capital when you know.
Well, I'm kind of looking at the agenda, and the point of order there would be that the agenda says consider approval additional funding for the purchase of a fire truck. Doesn't say anything about the chassis repairs, so that would almost need as a point of order.
This isn't
Different.
included. This is-
Different.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is, according to the agenda, we couldn't do that anyway. As a point of order, based on what the agenda says. So it is to approve the additional funding. So I would make a motion to approve an additional 23,000 for the purchase of the Marion or whatever truck you guys determine. Whatever the bid comes back for that, so.
Got a motion on the table. We got a second? Second. Motion made by Belinda, second by Mr. Herder to approve the additional funding out to the capital budgets to purchase fire truck. Any other discussion?
Are we doing the 21,338 they need? Or just giving them extra?
I'm giving room because I'm assuming that you don't have a contract yet. You don't have the bids out yet.
It's not signed.
So I'm giving them room to, in case that comes back 22,700 or something like that.
Should you make that up to 23,000?
I thought that's what I said, up to,
No, I'm.
and it's up to an additional $23,000.
Okay, I mean, if
for
you
the
say up
purchase.
to, then if it comes back for less, we're all right. If you give them, just say 23,000, that's giving them 23,000. If it
Correct.
comes less, we don't get that back.
Correct. Is that not what I said, up to an additional 23,000? Yeah,
Okay.
So I'll rephrase that. Motion made by Belinda, seconded by Mr. Herder to approve the additional funding for the capital budgets to purchase fire truck up to $23,000.
Do we need a motion that names the truck?
Probably.
Yeah.
To purchase the Marion Bobby tender.
Yep, I'll change this one more time. Let's make a motion to approve to purchase the Marion fire truck with the additional up to $23,000 in cost. Any other discussion on that? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, that's not even,
Got one
not
upstairs.
even there. That's gotta be a different.
Next on the agenda is discuss the possible action on the purchase of police squads. Chief?
You don't need one.
can't afford it. We gotta fix the fire trucks.
Well, I just want to give you guys kind of an update of where we stand on our squad cars in the world that we live in, which I think you just kind of heard about it a little bit. So as of this month, I've been chief for 14 years and been through a lot of processes, capital projects and purchasing of squad cars. And pretty much every year, we've purchased 2 squad cars for all those 14 years, going on 15 years. And we've had success in getting them. I found out last Friday, and I was kind of worried about this. So for the past month, I've been talking to Judy a little bit about how I've been hearing about police departments getting their squads canceled by Ford. Well, ours got canceled last Friday. So the squad that you had approved for us for this year to purchase, we had taken a 22 off the lot as a light duty vehicle. And then we were purchasing a squad car, which is the police interceptor model. That one has been canceled. So I talked to Judy about rolling the money over into next year. But what I'm hearing on the streets is that the squads, what happened with Chevy last year is they only opened the sale for about a week or two where you're able to purchase your squads. And what I'm hearing is Ford's gonna kind of do the same thing this year, where they're gonna have a limited window, probably sometime this fall. I don't know if it's gonna be tomorrow, or if it's gonna be November, or if it's gonna be next January. I'm not sure. But what I'm hearing is that they plan on switching the body over a little bit into 25. So they're gonna take a limited order for this coming next year, which would be up for 3 squads and including the one for this year, plus 2 for next. And if I don't get my order in, we're probably not gonna get anything then potentially until 25, which means we'll be replacing essentially our whole fleet at the time. And what we've been seeing in the meantime is increased costs and maintenance, of which the one squad that we were scheduled to replace, we just did a whole brake job on the whole car. So we are gonna see increasing costs. So I didn't know where to come with this. I'm gonna talk to the police and fire commission, of course, at my next meeting a little bit, because we just found out about the cancellation. But I guess I'm coming to you and after talking to Judy to see if the capital projects committee would, for the most part, approve for me to order squads in the future and this coming year prior to necessarily, I don't know if I would say being approved, but if it's approved by the police and fire commission, I talked to Judy to make sure that it would be on the normal agenda for being approved to be able to go and purchase those squads. We never take receipt of them prior to the beginning of the next year. What we had done in the past, prior to COVID, is a lot of times we would have a special committee meeting, usually October, what you say, and I would order them in November, and we'd usually get them in March. The last couple of years, when we've held off ordering them until late December, when we've had the committee meeting, or into January, we're seeing about a 9-month delay, and then we have to get them switched over, which delays them for another month or 2. And so our cars are really starting to get backed up on us. So I guess I throw this out to you and after talking to Judy to see if this is something that you guys would consider or what process you'd like to look at, but I am gonna be kind of in a pinch potentially coming up here. I don't know if it's gonna be this month, next month, 2 months from now, as to when we would have to order the 3 to be all set for next year. Judy, you have anything?
Chad, can you please pull up my finance committee packet again?
One other thing I'd like to also comment on is that 1 year during my tenure as chief is that we did try to go 3 years with the squads. And what we ended up finding out is we spent more money in repairs, not including the engine that we replaced, that would have cost the same as replacing 1 full car. And our cars are a little bit different than some of them, or even at the county, because our cars operate 24 hours a day. They're not one-on-one squads or anything like that. So they typically I would say we average about 40,000 miles a year, but that's 40,000 miles of idling time and city driving. So they take a beating on them.
So I think, thinking about this today, I think the cleanest way, and I understand this is up to the committee, to allow the chief to purchase those vehicles. We would have the dollars that we currently have in our 2023 budget that we carry forward. We do that all the time. So here's all of the things we couldn't get done because we're waiting for supplies and everything else from previous years. So that list, he would be on this list in 2024, assuming that they didn't come in until 2024. But I think the easiest way, instead of trying to say, we're going to, earmark money that we don't even have yet, or a budget we haven't even approved yet, is probably to give Mr. Schluter the authority to purchase those squads out of our capital projects reserve fund, because there's more than enough dollars in here. And then we would choose, if you so choose, again, your choice, to replenish this fund once we know what those capital dollars look like. So again, we're then spending money we already have and not money that we haven't approved into the future. Just a way to allow him some flexibility when those squads would come up for purchase, but it would be more to take it out of money we already know we have for the purchase of capital items, than to try to guess what that's gonna look like in the future.
One other thing that we have recently looked at is we stopped out at like Plox, for example, to look at like the Chevy Tahoes instead of the Explorers that we drive. And what we find out is that they're about $11,000 to $12,000 per vehicle more. But then you also have the initial switchover of all the equipment, which would probably be ballpark $12,000 on top of that, of which at that point you could transfer into the new vehicles. But in the meantime, the Explorers are about, when you're looking at two of them, you're talking about $20,000 to $25,000 a year cheaper, which that money could be used for other departments or other items to be purchased. So that's why we kind of stuck with what we have with the Explorers, just to save the money from transferring equipment from vehicle to vehicle and the increase in cost.
We just had a meeting about a fire truck getting a better quality vehicle. Do you think maybe the Chevys would go an extra year? I mean, is it a better quality vehicle?
I think all the vehicles nowadays are pretty much the same quality. I was just talking to Chief Lozelle over there. They're having problems with the oil leaking from their brand new Tahoe that they got. I've heard the same from Ford. Overall, we've had pretty good experience with them. It's just, I think you talk to different people, drive them differently. If I go talk to the county and they drive their cars 8 hours a day, for example, their cars are going to last, probably 4 or 5 years. If I go talk to a police department like us that use the same car all the time, I think you're going to find it very similar from car to car. I don't know if a lot of these companies be in existence if they didn't. So, they're all equipped with like the brakes on the Interceptor model are heavier duty brakes, what you'd have on your Explorer. They're supposed to be built for this, but I think, sometimes year to year, one model can be better than the next, so.
I like the idea of spending money we already have, not borrowing from later, not knowing what the later is gonna be.
Can you give them an idea of what a squad costs to be equipped?
So we've been, I think this last year was about 98,000. So we're talking about $100,000 a year. So the squads right now are priced out. I should say this year, they were priced out at about 43 to 44,000 a car. But then with the switchover and stuff, we had about $6,000 to have them switch the equipment from one car to the next, put the decals on the equipment. So we plan on about 50,000 right now. And it's quite the jump because, a few years ago, we were only budgeting probably 84,000. So the prices keep going up on us. I think when I became chief, I think we were paying, don't quote me on this, but I think it was around 25,000 a squad. Now we're almost doubling that.
Ain't gonna see them days again.
No,
And you're looking at getting 3 of them.
so to replace the one that is getting canceled this year, we'll have to order a 24 model and then 2 for next year. Of the 2 that were supposed to be replaced, so it'd be a total of 3, but we won't be buying the one this year. We'll be rolling that money over from this year into next year.
Right.
Yeah.
But if they come available this year,
Come available, if they come
whenever they
available,
come available. you
tomorrow,
wanna
I'd
have
like
the
to order
money
3.
to Purchase them.
I'd like to order 3 tomorrow if they come available.
And he already has the money for one.
Right. And that's a no-brainer, because if you only got a short window to order it.
In the
otherwise
past,
you're gonna be waiting.
yeah, in the past, we didn't have to worry about this. That's why I haven't come to you in the past, but nowadays, things are changing. I can't believe, they should know how many squad cars they're gonna sell across America, that it should be every year. And now all of a sudden, if all of them got canceled for this year, I'm afraid of, if we don't get in line right away, are we gonna miss out for 24?
I would make a motion that we allow Chief Leader to order the trucks. They're the cars as they become available. Is that the motion that we would want?
Out of the capital
Out of the capital
reserves.
Reserve.
I
yeah.
second that.
Motion being made by Mr. Besaw, second by Mr. Dorsey to allow Chief Schleter to order the trucks or order 3 cars when they come available. And the money would come out of the capital fund reserve. Any other,
Actually, one of them would come out of current funds and then 2 would.
one will come out of current funds and the other 2 will come out of the capital reserves.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on that? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I'll keep you updated as years come on, so.
Okay.
Come around.
Thanks, chief.
I really thought he'd buy with his money then.
You know, that would have been nice.
Yeah, we can still make that motion though. Any other questions from anybody or comments?
Just not what to say about you.
If not, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion made by
Yeah, but
Mr. Robertson, second by Mr. Barrington.